Welcome to the program, Caroline. It's an honor to have you on. And we've been talking about some of the low-key celebrity endorsements that Donald Trump's gotten quite randomly from old friends of his. Snoop Dogg, The Rock, praising Donald Trump. Didn't have that on the bingo card, but it must be all smiles at Trump campaign headquarters.
Yes, it certainly is. And I gotta say, Benny, you just absolutely nailed it with your response to that video of the African-American woman who was responding to Oprah and The Rock begging hardworking Americans for donations to Maui. That woman is speaking America First policies and agenda. She doesn't even know it, but I'd like to formally welcome her to the MAGA movement. And that's what the MAGA movement is. It is everyday, hardworking Americans, regardless of race, religion, geography, where you live, where you're from, your education status, who are sick and tired of seeing the political elite and the cabal that has become of the Democrat Party pushing rules on us and not living by them themselves. And so we welcome everyone to the MAGA movement, no matter how much money you have or where you come from, who is tired of having a political class that wants to live a certain way and then have all of us live another way. And that's what President Trump is all about, putting America first and the American people first. So welcome to that great woman and all those that want to be part of this movement.
We began the show with polling. We'll pop it back up here. In hysterics, the corporate press is, about Donald Trump winning the youth vote. Are you seeing those numbers? Potentially winning the Latino vote, or at the very, or being at parity, which would be unheard of. Winning the black male vote. Like, are you seeing those numbers on your end in the campaign?
Yes, we are seeing President Trump in a very dominant position heading into November. There have been more than 100 public polls to date showing President Trump beating Joe Biden in a head-to-head matchup. And he's sweeping demographics that Republicans have not been able to pick up in more than a half of a century, including the African-American vote. President Trump is making headwinds, polling about 1/4 of African-Americans in this country, 25% roughly, according to many polls, are considering voting for him in November. That is an earth-shattering number for the Democrat Party. And it's because people are waking up. They are realizing that Joe Biden promised to be this unifier in chief who is going to bring success to America, and he's done anything but that. The average American family is paying $11,000 more per year just to have the same exact quality of life as they did under President Trump. And so people, again, of all races and socioeconomic backgrounds are fed up of being ripped off by this thing they've so stupidly called Bidenomics. And that's not even getting to the chaos that we see at our southern border. And obviously the fear that has been instilled in the American public as we watch this world go up in flames. We're barreling towards World War III, thanks to Joe Biden's weakness on the world stage.
Yeah, that's exactly right. We had peace under Trump. I mean, it's like, it really, like, that seems to be something that is wild, that we have to remind the left, like, weren't you the people protesting the Iraq war and Afghanistan? Like, didn't you were anti-war like a second ago. Like, what happened? And I think that's why you're young. I'm 37. I got young kids at home, and we're like trying to make it in Biden's America. And we're looking at all this cash, just like the lady on the screen, going to Ukraine. And we're saying, what about us? Like, what about this country? Like, this is where we're from. We're like native to this place. Like, this is where we were born. Our grandparents were born here too. And so this is our country. What about us? And young people are saying, it's not working for us. It's why Trump is winning young people. And it does, I think, potentially make history when Donald Trump wins the youth vote. Republican has never won the youth vote. Not in my lifetime, I don't think. Is he on track to do that as a young person yourself? Are you saying these same effects on the demographic that you represent?
Yes. And I will tell you, as a young person, it is very exciting to see the momentum among young voters across this country and the real revival that is taking place amongst Generation Z and millennial Americans who, again, are realizing that they are not better off under Joe Biden. And the American dream that we all grew up hearing about and wanting to strive for is completely unattainable in Joe Biden's America. When Donald Trump was president, mortgage rates were a record 2.65%. It was never cheaper to get a mortgage to purchase a home in American history. Now today, under Joe Biden, because of Bidenomics and his tax and spend policies, mortgage rates are nearing 10% and growing. Gen Z and millennials, the majority of them, are still living at home with their parents because they cannot afford the American dream. And it will be even more unaffordable if we reelect Joe Biden for 4 more years. That's on the economic front. And then when you look at this world, again, young people have always championed peace throughout every war in history. Why?
Yes.
Because our generation that will be sent over to die.
Yes.
Sunday, tragically, we had 3 American soldiers who were needlessly killed in the Middle East, 2 of them in their 20s. Those are members of our American generation who lost their lives because of Joe Biden's weakness on the world stage. And if we want to really restore peace, we got to elect the peacemaker in chief, President Trump, who signed the historic Abraham Accords, who deterred aggression by our enemies, and who made it very clear to the entire world that if you mess with the United States of America, especially our young American soldiers on the front lines, you will pay a very big price. We don't have that same leadership now, and American lives, young American lives, are at risk and are at stake.
Yeah, it's so profound a point that you just made. It's the young people who fight wars, and so young people should be against people,
Right.
the individuals in our government, Joe Biden represented chiefly among them, who begin new wars. It won't be them who fight. It will be soldiers like this who lose their lives. These are the 3 soldiers who lost their lives in Jordan, and we recognize and remember them. Strangely, this seems to have been swept under the rug quite quickly by the corporate press. What say you to the families of these soldiers, Caroline?
There are no words to explain how sorry we feel and just what a tragedy to lose your loved one. I cannot imagine the pain and the grief and the suffering that the families of these brave American soldiers are feeling. And to watch our White House press secretary, Karine Jean-Pierre, go in front of the White House on the North Lawn yesterday and say and refer to these soldiers as, quote, military folks. That is what she said. She said they were just military folks who were over fighting, not on behalf of this country, but she said they were fighting on behalf of the Biden administration. That is a despicable, egregious, disrespectful statement. And so our hearts are with these soldiers, these brave American heroes who paid the ultimate sacrifice in defense of our nation and our freedom and our Constitution. And I am so sorry, we are so sorry that we don't have a president and a commander-in-chief right now who wants to protect American lives abroad, wants to deter our enemies, and wants to restore peace around this world. Joe Biden has sent billions of dollars over to the war in Ukraine, but has never announced a strategic plan to end that war. We now have Hamas, Iranian-backed terrorist group, launching attacks on our friend and nation ally Israel. We have hundreds of airstrikes on our military bases. It's because of Joe Biden's weak foreign policy. And unfortunately, more lives will probably be lost before we can get this man out of office in November.
So I know that this audience is deeply invested in the president's vice presidential pick. They are very curious about where the movement will go. This audience loves MAGA, loves the energy, and wants it to be carried forward. Obviously, this audience has also seen Mike Pence and what can happen when somebody decides to be a Judas to their own side and betray the movement that brought them. And so a lot of people care quite deeply about who Donald Trump picks to be vice president. Also, Donald Trump constitutionally will be limited to 1 term since he's already served a term. And so obviously this choice reigns quite in front of mind. Do you have any insights or any updates on the vice presidential pick? Donald Trump did say on Fox News it's already done. He's already made his decision. Is that true? Any hints?
Well, I will say this. We greatly appreciate the curiosity from your audience, and we understand the importance of this decision by the president. With that said, he has said publicly that the main quality he is seeking in a vice president is someone who will be an effective and great leader after his term ends. And so that's the top of mind for him. I'm sure whoever it is will be a great pick for the American public. Lessons learned from the past, most definitely. And there's a lot of great options on the table. The Republican Party has a very deep bench of great America First conservative leaders who will be able to take the reins quite effectively. And so we'll have to see what the president decides. Frankly, we are not focused on that here at Trump headquarters. We are focused on two things. One of them is winning the general election in November and beating up Joe Biden every single day for all of the atrocities he's raining on this nation. But secondly, we're making sure that we wrap up this primary very soon. We still have a rhino, never Trump Republican that is clinging to life. That is Nikki Haley. And so we're focused on exposing the truth about Nikki Haley, who, by the way, also wants to continue the endless wars abroad that we've seen killing American soldiers. And so we need to make sure that we get the Republican Party to unify, put Nikki Haley's failing campaign to bed, and then we'll take the fight to Joe Biden. And you'll hear from the president in due time about his VP pick.
Caroline, speaking of Trump's words on Joe Biden, Trump said recently that he doesn't believe that Joe Biden will make it to the gate in 2024, that there'd have to be some type of switcheroo that happens because of Joe Biden's health or so on. Besides the point of, is Joe Biden fit to serve in office, is that strategic inside of the campaign? I mean, are you planning on Joe Biden being the nominee on November 2024?
Well, right now, it appears that Joe Biden, they're going to drag him over the finish line, even if he's in a wheelchair to do it. However, of course, we will be prepared to face any Democrat nominee. We do expect that to be Joe Biden, but maybe not. And regardless, it doesn't matter, because any Democrat would implement the same exact policies that Joe Biden has inflicted on the American public in the past 4 years, raising taxes, spending more money than we have, hiking up inflation, hiking up gas prices, hampering our domestic energy production, sending billions of dollars overseas while not taking care of our homeless veterans in the streets. And then also, of course, these wide open border policies that are wreaking havoc in every corner of American society with no end or plan to stop that as well. And so it doesn't matter who the Democrat is. We will take our message of peace and prosperity and protection and President Trump's unprecedented record to deliver on his promises for the American people. And that will be a winning message no matter who we face, Joe Biden or any other Democrat.
I have one real tough question for you before we close, and I hope you don't mind. Our audience are big fans of you and the work that you do, and you choose your words very accurately and carefully, powerfully. You're a great spokesperson on behalf of the president, good press secretary. Because you're so good at that, we hope that you could help our show out. We have a clip of Joe Biden from just a few days ago where we don't think he's speaking English. We were hoping that you could translate for us, Caroline.
Which clip?
We're going to play it for you right now. And maybe you, as a professional, okay, we're novices, but as a professional, perhaps you could help us translate what Joe Biden is saying here.
Let's do it.
By the way, used to make beer brewed here. It is used to make the brew beer in this refinery. Oh, Earth Rider.
That's a tough one. I think I heard making bigger brew here. If that's even a sentence, which I don't believe it is.
It could be the campaign slogan going forward. Put it on a bumper sticker. Baking boo beer brew here. Biden Harris 2024. Final thoughts. Do you think Taylor Swift's going to come out and endorse Joe? Do you think that this is all a big setup?
That's the word on the street. The Democrats are pushing for it. They're calling it their Hail Mary pass to drag Biden over the finish line. Here's the deal. I don't think people are going to take advice from someone who flies around on a private jet, has private security, when they're paying thousands of dollars more just to live. That might not be a lot of money for Taylor Swift. She may not feel the impact of Bidenomics, but millions of people across this country are. She should stick to writing songs. And by the way, Betty, this woman has made a career off of writing songs about picking the wrong guy. We should not trust her to pick the wrong guy in this presidential election.
Yeah, writes songs about how horrible her decision-making process is with men, endorses Joe Biden. Yeah, got it. Okay, perfect. Good. There you go. There's the catalog owned by George Soros. Exactly. Oh, this has been fantastic. Thank you. Godspeed. You have obviously a big job ahead of you, and we look forward to you coming back on the program. We know the audience supports you. And again, Godspeed, Carolyn Levitt.
Anytime. Thanks, Benny.